You see them all the time, right? These massive construction projects, gleaming new railways, sprawling airports, huge bridges. They always come with these incredible promises of progress and a booming economy. But behind those multi-billion-dollar price tags, there's a really fundamental question. How do we actually know if they're worth it before we even break ground? Let's get into it. And at the heart of our story today is really a tale of two trains. On one side, you've got this bold, brand new plan for a high-speed rail line in Indonesia. And on the other, you have an absolute legend, Japan's Shinkansen, the bullet train that's been around for more than half a century. One is a vision for the future, and the other is a powerful, powerful lesson from the past.
And this brings us right to the core question, doesn't it? When we're being sold on these gigantic, city-altering projects, how can we be sure that the benefits are actually going to outweigh the insane costs? I mean, how do they even start to do that math?
Well, to answer that, we have to start where the planners themselves start, with the on-paper calculation. This is the official story, the one they present to the public, that boils a massive, complicated project down to a simple, very compelling number.
It all kicks off with what economists call direct effects. Really, you can just think of these as the obvious, straightforward impacts. It's the cost of the steel and concrete, and the most immediate benefits for the people who are actually going to use the thing.
And you can see just how powerful these direct effects can look on paper. I mean, check this out from the Indonesian study. A trip that takes 2, maybe 3 hours by car or regular train gets slashed to just 37 minutes. That is a massive, tangible win. It's simple, it's powerful, and it is a very easy idea to sell to people.
And all of that gets crunched down into one very persuasive number, 1.91. That's the benefit-to-cost ratio from the official study. And what it means is for every single dollar they spend, the project is expected to create $1.91 in benefits. On paper, it's an absolute no-brainer, a slam dunk. But you probably guessed there was a but coming, right? That simple, clean number, well, it doesn't even come close to telling the whole story. To get there, we have to dig deeper into all the unseen ripple effects.
And this is the question that really gets tricky for planners. Because a new railway doesn't just make your commute faster. It changes the entire relationship between cities, between businesses, between people's lives. So what are those other changes?
Well, they're called indirect effects. Think of it like this. If a project is a big stone you throw into a pond, the direct effects are that first big splash. But the indirect effects? Those are all the ripples that spread out afterwards, touching every single part of the shoreline in ways you would never expect.
And we don't have to guess what those ripples look like. Japan's Shinkansen gives us 50 years of real-world data to look at. And yeah, it saved an incredible amount of travel time. It helped Japan's economy soar. But it wasn't a win for everybody. Some of the smaller towns along the rail line actually saw their economy shrink. The ripples were complex, and they definitely created winners and losers.
So you go from that neat, tidy little number, 1.91, to this. This is what that messy, complicated reality actually looks like when economists try to map it out. It's not a simple addition problem, it's a tangled web of feedback loops and chain reactions that affect everything, from the job market to how much your house is worth. And this points to the two biggest pitfalls in these kinds of assessments. Planners almost always struggle to predict the true impacts over time, the long-term ripples, and across space, how a project right here can totally change the economy way over there, sometimes for the worse.
Okay, so all this complexity leads to another huge challenge. If you're going to do a cost-benefit analysis, you literally have to put a dollar value on everything, even the things that don't have a price tag. So, how on earth do you do that?
Let's make it personal for a second. A massive part of the benefit from that Indonesian railway was travel time saved. But how do you put a number on that? How much is an hour of your life, an hour you're not stuck in traffic, actually worth? Is it 10 bucks? 50? 100?
So traditionally, economists have two main tricks. The first is called stated preference. It's just a fancy term for a survey. They literally just ask you, hey, how much would you pay for a faster commute? Then there's revealed preference, which is a little more clever. They don't listen to what you say, they watch what you do. They look at real choices, like people paying more for a house with a shorter commute, to figure out the value. But both of those methods are really about what we want, right? Our preferences. And a new way of thinking is starting to ask a totally different question. What if the goal isn't just giving people what they prefer, but improving how they actually feel about their lives? And this is called the life satisfaction approach.
Instead of looking at market choices, this method tries to directly measure how something, like less noise pollution or a shorter commute, impacts people's self-reported happiness. Then it basically calculates how much more money you'd have to earn to get the same boost in happiness. It's fascinating.
So we've seen the simple calculation, we've seen the messy reality, and we've seen these evolving ways we try to measure what matters. And it all builds to one last, really critical point about how these huge projects get chosen in the first place.
And here it is. This is the biggest takeaway. The choice of which method to use, whether you just focus on the simple, direct effects, or you try to measure wider well-being, that's not just some boring technical detail for academics. The tools we choose to measure with literally determine which projects look good on paper, and that dictates the kind of future we end up building for ourselves.
This quote from the source material just nails it. We tend to think that our values, what we believe is important for our community, determine how we evaluate a project. But what's really happening is often the complete opposite. The technical act of evaluation, the choice of what to measure and how, is what ends up defining what our society decides is valuable.
So I'll leave you with this. The next time you hear about a new highway or a new stadium that's promising progress and jobs for the greater good, maybe the first question we should ask isn't just what will it cost, but rather, how are you measuring the good? And more importantly, who gets left out of that calculation?